Greetings from the most wishful John G. Jones, Grand Lodge, State of California, ancient, free, and accepted Masons. Well, I'm going to be doing a series of videos dealing with the accomplishment of John G. Jones, some of the things he did before his death, as far as the foundation of the ancient, free, and accepted Masons. And I think it's going to be great because this is going to basically deal with Jones and his life, not only Masonically, but the things he did in the community. And I've come across some great things that this man did. And I know a lot of times his name is vilified. You know, he's this. You don't want to socialize with any of the members of John G. Jones or anything like that. But you know what? Sometimes you have to get over that. We're talking 150 years ago. But I'm going to get right into it, and I just want to share this information. And before I do that, I want to send a big shout out to Brother Amos out of Jerusalem Grand Lodge of Illinois, and the information that he gave me, emailed to me, is great. And brother, I want to say thank you for continues to keep me abreast of information that you come across. And brother Christopher Taft from St. Joseph Grand Lodge out of Texas, thank you for your hard work and dedication and research. I mean, in-depth research. We can agree to disagree on some things, but bruh, I just want to let you know that you do a good job and continue to work hard, and we're gonna come across some information. You know what I mean? We're gonna find that. But until then, I just want to share this with you. This book right here is a great book to have if you have it, or maybe you know someone that may have it and they may want to get you a copy of it. This is the recording of most transactions of the United Supreme Council, Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons, Scottish Rite for the Southern and Western Masonic jurisdiction. This is 1869 to 1960. The most recent Sergeant Grand Commander at that time was John C. Dance, 33rd, and the Secretary, Grand Secretary at the time, Grand Secretary General at the time was the illustrious Clarence Williams. They compiled quite a bit of information dealing with John G. Jones and the various General Grand Masonic Congresses. I would think if you had this book, you would be able to really kind of pin down your Grand Lodge history, your most recent Sergeant. How did you get to where you're at if you had this book? This is a good book to have. So with that being said, I'm going to get right into this. Also, I have this journal. I just finished it, and it says All Things John G. Jones, Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons. I just finished it. This is my rough draft. I'm going to definitely go ahead and do right by it. I know Brother Tab often tell me, you got to do right by your material, so I want to make sure that it's done correctly. I have about 6 journals that I've actually done, and and I shared them, and people have them, and some question some of the stuff in it, and some says it's good information to have. So I'm gonna get right into this one. I'm gonna cover October the 5th, 1896. This is not something that I wrote, but this is actually a transaction of minutes that was taken at that time, and I'm just going to share it with you. It says, "This being the day agreed upon for the annual session with the representatives of the United Supreme Council for the Southern and Western Masonic jurisdiction, its territories and independence assembled at 5 o'clock in the Masonic Hall in its annual session in Washington, D.C. Those who occupied the stations are the illustrious John G. Jones, Macpherson Sergeant Grand Commander from Chicago, the illustrious James H. Lewis, 33rd Lieutenant Grand Commander, New York. H.C. Scott, at that time, was the Grand Prior, Washington, D.C. William H. Lee, 33rd Grand Minister of State, Washington, D.C. G.O. William Phillips was 33rd. He was the Grand Chancellor, Washington, D.C. Peter Lucas, 33rd Grand Orient, Washington, D.C. O.R. King, Grand Treasurer General, Washington, D.C. D.F. Seville, 33rd Grand Secretary, Washington, D.C. John N. Adams, Grand Almoner, Washington, D.C. And we have Thomas W. Logan, 33rd. He was the Grand Auditor, and he was from Kansas. We have also C.W. Newton, 33rd. He was Assistant Grand Auditor from Jacksonville, Illinois. So these are just some of the officers and members that was there. I'm going to go on down and read it. It says that The illustrious George W. Roper, 33rd, most recent sovereign grand commander of the Supreme Council for the Northern Jurisdiction, were present. He gave a speech and said on the good of the order. And at this session, it was fully arranged and agreed upon that all states and territories formerly occupied by the Northern Jurisdiction Supreme Council, which is with its Grand East at Philly, that they were now surrendered and transferred over to the jurisdiction under the United Supreme Council, which was located in Washington, D.C. Now, I know some may disagree with that and have other opinions about what took place then. That's all good and well. That's great for debate. I'm just sharing with you the information I have, and I hope that you take that and you can share that with someone. And once I get done with this, I'm quite sure it's going to be useful for someone. I didn't write anything. These are just really a lot of newspaper articles in regards to Jones and some of the things that he completed and done. And this is basically a lot of stuff that I got from Brother Christopher Taft and Brother Amos from Chicago. And I think I've taken it, compiled it, condensed it to the best of my ability, and I'm willing to share it. I feel once again that John G. Jones was a great man, a hell of a Mason, really fought for his people, and you can't take that away from the man. The man even ran for president of the United States. I want to say vice president of the United States. And there is proof of that. You can look that up for yourself. He was part of the Lincoln Party, one of the founding members, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to get into that at a later date. Yes, John G. Jones ran for vice president of the United States. It's a fact. You can even look it up in the archives yourself. It's written down. It's there for all to see. And that's what makes him so great. So until we meet again, always stay out them bushes. Keep your light on.